think that speaks to the paths that we have in front of us. From my perspective, I think we've got two paths that we can go when we have a difficult conversation. Because the need for the difficult conversation isn't necessarily going to go away. So we can either avoid having the conversation, or we can go ahead and confront it head on and engage in the conversation. And I think there's risk either way we go. So if we decide to avoid a difficult conversation, Nuge, what do you think are some of the things that can happen if we select the avoidance path?
Well, while the avoidance path may seem the easiest path, it actually can be the easiest path to take. Um, you know, y- like you said, the feeling will fester inside. Whatever's bothering you, if it's a personal situation or the situation in a professional setting could get larger or more out of control if you don't have that conversation. And, you know, the avoidance path also, I think, speaks to the confidence of the person who needs to have the conversation. Maybe they're not confident. Maybe someone who needs to have a conversation, let's say with you, Frankie, may not have that confidence or feel comfortable having that conversation with you. So there's that part that you're dealing with sometimes. And if you avoid the conversation, then you miss the opportunity to grow. You miss the opportunity to improve. So I think avoidance, while it may be easy, presents a whole set of problems that one may not want to engage in.
Right. And it may also, affect our identity, the way we perceive ourselves. If we avoid a conversation, we may feel cowardly. We may feel like we're letting ourselves be taken advantage of. So yeah, avoidance, while it may feel good, definitely has risk. And then if we decide conversely, what do you think? When you decide to confront, what are some of the things that we might run into when we decide to go ahead and confront the difficult conversation head on?
Well, I think one of the biggest things when you decide to take things head on is the perception of what you're trying to present, the conversation that you're trying to present. Maybe it's not accepted well. Maybe you're rejected in that
Mm,
situation. Maybe the person that you're speaking to, or even a group that you're speaking to, may turn things around and attack you because they just don't like what's coming out or what's coming forward.
yeah,
Um, and then we were talking about feelings earlier. You don't want to hurt someone's feelings, and I think that's something that can happen when you confront someone with a difficult situation. Feelings can be hurt, theirs and yours, quite honestly. And, then that could lead to a deterioration in the relationship. So I think those things come into play when you have that confrontational uh, part of the difficult conversation.
yeah, and it's it's especially poignant when we're having to engage in that conversation with somebody we care about. Those things are multiplied. The risk that, when we actually take the confront path. And, I don't want the words that we choose here to misconstrue the situation. We're not talking about being confrontational and, being belligerent about it. We're talking about deciding. Yeah. We're not trying to flex on somebody and be like, yeah, like some Mr. T, I pity the fool who doesn't agree with me. Um, we're talking about actually deciding to confront the issue and engage in the difficult conversation, not necessarily being confrontational. But either way we go.
And that, you know, not meaning to cut you off, Frankie,
Oh,
but
that's all.
even
Go ahead.
but that is that plays into the pause of the pause shifting ignite. You have to make that pause before you have that confrontation to take some inventory as to the situation and how to approach it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we're taking a risk by being the person who initiates a difficult conversation, by even before we've made the decision to confront, whether we avoid or whether we confront, we're taking risk because we've identified, just now, there are problems inherent with both paths where things could go off the rails. So if a difficult conversation is going to happen, it has to mean something to you because, we've got skin in the game in a difficult conversation. We're taking risks one way or the other. So we got to make sure that we approach it with the right mindset and approach it in a way that's going to be as fruitful as possible. But there's going to be uncomfortable moments with it. We had our episode where we talked about growth and, the comfort zone and the cost of staying in the comfort zone. And I think this falls right back into that same conversation.